We are live. Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight series, where we shine a light on entrepreneurs, SMEs, and innovators. I am absolutely delighted to be joined by an amazing entrepreneur, Jason Roberts from Kaleida, who is paving a new path, the groundbreaking path in supplier diversity and also supply chain for buyers and sellers. And we're gonna hear from Jason. How are you? Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
good afternoon, Maxine. I'm great. Really, really good. Strong week last week. Was looking forward to today as well, actually, to kind of kick off the week in a very positive way. So thanks for inviting me here into your Spotlight series.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So the way we work it, so I'm going to ask you a number of questions, so that the audience can get to know you. Do feel free to for the audience. Do feel free to add comments in, and then we will do our best to respond as we go along.
Yeah,
So
definitely get those questions in. It'd be good to have an interactive conversation and chat as well. So I'll welcome any questions.
yeah, definitely. So first of all, Jason, can you briefly introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, so I'm Jason Roberts, the founder and CEO of Kaleida International. Interested about my background actually. So the business itself, it's a fully inclusive B2B marketplace, a bit like a dating app for businesses where corporate organizations can find businesses that they want to work with. Now, the arena that I work in and they operate in is within supply diversity. Supply diversity is a diversity and inclusion program, but essentially for businesses that are, I guess, owned by individuals who are of a marginalized community. In the UK, there are six or so identities, and these businesses, these corporate organizations, want to actually work with these organizations that are owned by women, owned by anyone who's LGBTQ plus, ethnic minorities, and those who are neurodivergent, disabled, and veterans as well. So those six diverse groups are the ones that typically experience marginalization and prejudice within society, and often are at the wrong end of the stick when it comes to decision making as well. So we've created a business that will help these corporate organizations find these organizations, identify their by identity, assess them by their capability, and then potentially invite them to participate in tenders as well, but irrespective of their diverse identity. So we are a fully inclusive B2B marketplace for tenders.
That's a really great explanation, and I do actually remember, particularly in the last couple of years with corporates as well, and working on that procurement supply chain, that drive for more and more of our spend to be diluted, and not diluted in a negative, diluted in a positive way to include more diverse suppliers, and tracking and monitoring that on a monthly basis. So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Inspired to be an entrepreneur, I mean, that's an interesting question because I spent most of my life in corporate, right? I spent 23 years in financial services, 11 years working within investment banks, and then about 12 or 13 years actually selling technology back to banks, asset managers, and hedge funds. But I think what ultimately happened is in that arena, in that environment, I personally didn't feel I got the outcomes that I perhaps felt like I deserved. I felt like some opportunities weren't necessarily given to me, and I can talk to you about a bit about my career to
Yeah.
explain where that happened. But then there also was a desire to take control of my own destiny. And sometimes when you're in employment, you don't often get the opportunity to do that.
Mm.
Promotions can be denied you based on politics. Your work ethic might not be how someone else wants to work, and it might be a clash of personalities. And sometimes when you run your own ship, you can control the destiny of the organization and ultimately your own outcomes as well. So it was more really a focus on what do I want to achieve in my life? What do I want my end of life to look like? What do I want my kids' careers to look like and their lives to look like? And how can I influence that as best as possible? And being a very people focused person, building this business has really helped me to achieve those goals and be on way to achieving the outcomes I want to achieve as well.
That's absolutely amazing. And I'm part of that journey of 100% with you as well, promoting far and wide as much as possible so that you can grow and continue to be successful.
Yeah.
So, Jason, how did you come up with the idea for the business for Kaleida?
Right. So we have to go back a little bit, right? When you're in sales, and this is a really true experience. First of all, some background, some context. I'm from a single parent background in Brixton, very a lot of poverty, and when you don't see much options out there, it's quite hard to be inspired to do anything outside of what you might be surrounded by. And what I found was when I entered the workplace, finally made a breakthrough into banking, finally was running a team. I'm thinking when I was in sales, I personally experienced going into a room and being perceived as this 6'5" black male, and all the stereotypes that we tend to carry on us, they tend to be in that room before as I approach the room. And ultimately, anyone who's is not represented very well, let's say they are a woman, yeah, or someone who's LGBTQ plus or disabled, in those decision-making rooms, where there's no one of representation, they experience an unconscious bias. And so with my background, I felt the weight of being a 6'5" black male. I wanted to find a way to actually help others who experience discrimination, who experience prejudice, to also have access to opportunities that they probably didn't have access to, maybe due to their upbringing, maybe due to an unconscious bias in that room, maybe a conscious bias in some cases, but definitely often because of an affinity bias. And affinity bias is best described as birds of a feather flock together. So in the case where you remove prejudice and racism, for example, from the conversation, sexism and homophobia, I didn't go to university, right? So if I'm selling a product to an organization and the person in that room went to university or went to Oxford, and the person who's also selling my competitor went to Oxford, there is an affinity bias that can happen.
Yeah.
And so opportunities are often sometimes not presented to people like myself, right? When there's no representation in that room. So the business I came up with was designed to give the corporates the opportunity to find these organizations that experience marginalization, to get them access to the room to have the conversation, at least pitch and present.
Yeah.
So that was really like the background of the story. It was really focused on me trying to find a way to, first of all, get access to sales opportunities, but also to provide a place where those who are marginalized can get access to the opportunities that they are often denied.
That's a brilliant answer, and it actually took me back a few years to me showing up for a meeting, and the person saying to me, "Oh, I wasn't expecting you, as in young black female in a very senior procurement position, and there's more work that needs to be done, but you're definitely paving the way." Definitely.
Yeah, but you know what? There's so many places where we can help to make improvements and make a change. Just a slight sidebar. I was in a conversation with a young man recently, 19 years old, student, started doing his doctorate, doing his medical degree of some sort, and he said that he knows that black women are have a higher pain threshold than white women, because he was taught it in his books as a fact. The reason why I mention this is that there are the young generation who are coming up who are also being misinformed about things that will impact their decision-making process in the future. So we've got a great job, a big task to do now, to make things as equal as possible, where we can begin to influence the future generations around equality and not have them be misled by old historical points of view that were misguided. And I think we've got an opportunity right now for us as a business to begin to create equality in a sense that then permeates through to society and creates not just access to opportunities, but also, more importantly, changes the conversation and the narrative around who we are, what is the black culture like? What are those who are LGBTQ about? What is it like to be a woman? If we can begin to impact those conversations, because they now get access to the room and get seen as the valuable individuals that they are, I think that changes the future step by step.
And I think just coupled with that, it then strips away an excuse not to succeed, an excuse not to pursue a particular career because it's predominantly been known as male. For just as an example, construction is a good example of that. Now you have female electricians and all sorts. So, okay, more about your journey and your challenges.
Sure.
What were the initial challenges you faced when you started Kaleida?
So I guess there's two ways to look at it. There's a business aspect, right? Which is as a solo entrepreneur, trying to do all tasks as much as possible by yourself, right? So one day you're wearing 6 or 7 hats. You're the head of marketing, you're the head of sales, you're this chief exec, and those are really critical challenges that I think all businesses face. The key one, though, actually is knowing how to do sales. Now, luckily for me, I have a sales background. So that part didn't bother me too much. But then from the business standpoint, it was understanding what areas I need to improve in, which were perhaps my creative writing, so they call it copy, and actually creating the creatives to go with my marketing messaging. That part was quite difficult. On the other hand, from the business side, it was trying to understand what is the appetite for supply diversity within the UK. Now, I know if I had a £5 million investment in the business 5 years ago, we'd be no further ahead than where we are.
That's
So because ultimately the society isn't ready for it, right? You had, the unfortunate murder of George Floyd. That really triggered and kicked off a movement around equality and diversity and inclusion. So until businesses and their processes and their policies were able to catch up with what society was experiencing, no technology could actually improve those agendas around inclusion, because of the mindset wasn't quite there just yet. So now we're in a position where we spent the last 2 years or so, 2.5 years, actually educating the industry around what supply diversity means, but from our lens, which actually is around being fully inclusive.
Yeah.
To explain that, what it means briefly, in the world of supply diversity, there are these really strong, really successful advocacy groups. Ones that look after women, they look after women alone. One that look after the ethnic minority group. One that looks after the LGBTQ community. Every diverse identity has their own community. But what it does is it creates silos of people who are all trying to achieve the same thing, right? And a corporate who wants to support society or these groups has to either support one or two of those groups because of the expense.
Yeah.
And they can't choose to support all of them pretty much because it's too difficult to do so. And so what we said, actual fact, as a business is, if we're fully inclusive, when our corporates join our platform, they're able to get access to all diverse identities, irrespective of their identity. They haven't got to make a prejudicial or discriminatory decision on who they'll support. And so, educating the industry about what it means to be fully inclusive has been a really good, strong labor of love, but one that's really well received by the corporates.
Yeah. Thank you. That creates some really good understanding of the background and a bit about yourself as well in terms of that journey that you've taken.
Yeah.
Tell us, can you share a pivotal moment or turning point in this journey?
Certainly landing our first client, that was certainly a pivotal moment because it proved that what we were doing was right. And we had a large corporate organization who believed not only in us, but actually in their desire to help as many people as possible. They didn't want to make a decision to just support the Black community or just support the women community. They wanted to help everyone. And so we've now grown to, I think we've probably got maybe 7 or 8 clients now. Yeah. So many more in the pipeline who we're speaking to, big, large corporate organizations, FTSE 100, S&P 500 companies who are reaching out to us and saying, actual fact, Jason, can we have a conversation with you about supply diversity? So yeah, it's just interesting. It's been an interesting journey, but to see the adoption from the corporates is proven that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
and it's been painful. Believe me, it's been tough. And when you work for yourself and you're an entrepreneur and you've got to keep the lights on, it can be really difficult. But I think I've persevered mainly because of my personality. Right, you've got be persistent, tenacious, persevere through the challenges. But when you get those beliefs, those who believe in you, it really can encourage you to keep going.
Yeah. So you've literally flowed into the next question, which was how do you handle the setbacks and any failures? So just to teach something to our audience that maybe they may be entrepreneurs, they may be just starting out. So what would you say?
Well, look, they say that failure is first, or to fail is the first attempt in learning, right? So I think it's quite clever how that comes about. But we can't succeed unless we fail. You can't believe unless you doubt. You have to go through the journey. The key thing is, and this is quite painful to hear, not everyone is built to be an entrepreneur. So either build a team around you who can support you if you're the ideas person and you can't execute, right? Build a team around you that can support you, or stay in employment. Because the pain that you go through when you're an entrepreneur is difficult. It's demoralizing. Your morale can take a real hit. This is real talk, right? Your self-esteem can take a hit. Your confidence can be knocked. You've got to know that you've got the tenacity and to actually overcome those challenges. One of the things that sales taught me is how to be tenacious. I would have to make 40, 50, 60 calls a day in order to get through to people who were looking to buy the product that my company that I was employed by was selling. Okay. And sometimes I might get 2 people answer the phone and everyone else tells me no. And the next day, Tuesday, I've got to go again.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday, I'll go for the same point of rejection again. And so if you are able to deal with rejection, you're probably on the first steps on that runway to having a business that you might be able to see to success.
Yeah.
But the key thing is to understand what makes a business successful. And whilst it is people, particularly if you're opening something which is brand new and never been done before, timing is a critical component to the outcomes of that business. And we just happen to create a business in Kaleida that is here at the right time when there's a real focus on ESG, the environmental social governance piece of corporate policies. There's a real focus on diversity and inclusion. There's a real focus in society around equality and equity. So we're here at the right time with the right platform doing the right thing. So the advice there, those out there, is assess the market truly. Don't mind failure. Failure is perfectly fine. I ran 2 businesses that failed and previously to launching Kaleida in between my career. And then really, I guess, finally, what you'll find in your to-do list when you're an entrepreneur is 10 items you got to do, right? And the things at the bottom never get done because these are things that you most don't want to do. And those are the things that you need to do first. Right? So some people don't like doing sales. I can't make sales calls, Jason. I don't have to pick up the phone. So I'm just going to write another blog again, or I'm going to create another spreadsheet. When in actual fact, your thing that will keep your business going is the things at the bottom of the list that you don't do because you're scared to do it. So repurpose your list, your to-do list. Do the things that you're afraid of most, because that will be where you have the most growth.
Do you know that another point to add to that is around, outsourcing some of the tasks as well. If you know that you're not good at something, somebody woke up with those skills that has those skills. So find people that have the skills to complement what you need to achieve as well.
Yeah, you absolutely. I sat in the bar one evening, and it probably was about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was just outside of lockdown. And this chap said to me, "What is it that you do?" And he said, a very important question he asked me. He said, "Do you have a yin to your yang?" And I didn't know what he meant until he explained it. He said, "You won't be able to do everything, but you need someone that can plug your own gaps." Right? And I think if you're an entrepreneur or you're starting a business, or even if you're in employment or a relationship, you need someone who can plug your gaps. Yeah. And that's when you become the strongest version of yourself, and the business can then thrive because nothing is then left undone.
Yeah, it's the who's.
Yeah.
the who's, not how.
Yeah.
Okay, so innovation. Let's move on to some innovation and differentiation.
Okay.
So how is your product and different from what's already available in the market?
So one of the critical component to our platform is that we have billions of pounds worth of tenders in the platform already live for suppliers to apply to. But second, so we get both public and private sector tenders in the platform. The key component or differentiator for us, though, is that we're fully inclusive. So here's a good thing. One of our clients can do this. They can go into the platform and they can say, we are looking for an organization that does, say, marketing, right? Or let's say marketing. That marketing organization, ideally, they'll be based in Birmingham, okay? They would ideally be a diverse owned business, okay? And now, as part of a release we had recently, they must also be sustainable, right? So imagine being able to find any company in the platform that is a Black-owned business or a woman-owned business, one that's LGBTQ+, that does marketing, that's based in Birmingham, that has a sustainability credential as well. Those components make our platform extremely powerful because actually the data around diversity of ownership of a business doesn't exist anywhere outside of those that have been privately collected. So just for your audience, let me just quickly break this down. Diversity and inclusion is different to supply diversity, okay? Diversity and inclusion is about looking at it from a people standpoint against the 9 protected characteristics or the Equality 2010 Act, okay? So don't discriminate against someone because of their race, their gender, their sex, etc. Right? I think we're familiar with those laws. But supply diversity says, what is the identity of the ownership of that business? Because those are the individuals who actually also need help as well. And so what we do, to differentiate us really is the fact that we have that data within a platform where our buyers can find organizations that they can engage with to invite to participate in real tender opportunities.
Does the platform allow, so if there's a buyer that regularly uses uses your services, is there some form of reporting? Because a lot of the time as a procurement function, they have to report back on the percentage of diverse supply chain that they're using. So does Kaleida allow them to do that, just extract that data?
So they when they engage with a supplier, so first of all, we designed these really cool badges that allows a business to know if that business is Black owned or woman owned or LGBTQ plus owned. So if they were to award a tender to an organization, they can capture that credential at that point, right?
Yeah.
But the way that the companies will do report, so they can do reporting on the platform. We will be building additional reporting, to be fair, next year. But they can capture who the identities of the individual, so that they can then work with that and report on that later on.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
that's really
And then we'll
cool.
try to track spend as well, because ultimately what you want to be able to say is we spent, $1 million this year with Black-owned businesses, $3 million this year with women-owned businesses. Being able to do that is a critical component of their policy of what they want to achieve of the business, and so we help them with that data as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. So we're talking about innovation and development. So what innovative strategies have you implemented for you to stand out in the industry? So I know you've talked about the different differentiators.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a bit about the platform itself, but what other innovative strategies have you got that help you to stand out in the industry?
I think it's really about our partnerships that we've established. Primarily the one with a company called Neutral Carbon Zone. They're our new latest partner. They are the sustainability asset that we can now assign to a supplier on the platform. So where a supplier goes through the process of getting certified for their sustainability carbon footprint, they can now have a badge displayed in the cloud platform as well. So
I've lost you a little bit, Jason.
If you're able to find in the cloud, you can find in the cloud platform businesses that perform a taxi service, right?
Yeah.
So now let's say two companies come back up. Both say they're sustainable, but one has got a certification around that process. The buyer may then be influenced because of that to look at that company more closely, because it helps them with their what's called scope 3 emissions that they need to also deal with as well. So for us, having the key partnerships is critical to our success, because it will also allow to drive value to our buyers. When you ask your buyer, what is it that they're looking for? Ask your customer, what do they need? They tell you what they need. It's a matter of if you're able to, on principle, deliver it. So that differentiates us, that our key partnerships, that's really strategically what we've done. But also, as we expand across Europe as well through next year, being able to capture tendered opportunities that are across the European region as well, that's also powerful. Because imagine you're an organization that does consultancy. You can sell consultancy services not just to the UK businesses, but actually to someone who's based in France as well, Germany as well. So again, in the platform, what we decided to do was not just have UK opportunities, but opportunities from across Europe. And then we'll kind of, we'll try to get a really good footprint across Europe over the next couple of years, with a view to expand into Asia Pac once you've really pushed supply diversity, or the fully inclusive supply diversity model across Europe.
Yeah. Any opportunities in the US? So there's a great need in terms of a platform, purely because of some challenges that I'm having at the moment, trying to source across so many states as well. It's a real labor of love.
Yeah, so the US is an interesting one strategically, and again, I guess a message to your listeners, right, is you haven't got to tell everyone yes. You can tell people no, and you can do, because by telling people no, you then focusing on what you really what you want to achieve. We know that the US is a really crowded market, They've got good legislation, but it's a crowded market. It's not a place where we can be successful. If we're to make, they've had 45, 48 years or so ahead of us to really push the supply diversity model. If we're to make an impact in the world, we can do so where that footprint hasn't yet been done. We have a real greenfield approach across Europe and across Asia Pac. So the US may be something that will happen. I can't say too much now. I can't say too much now. It may happen sooner than I would have strategically had it happen, because it's something that might be happening in the background. But if anything, the US will be something from perhaps 2030, perhaps as far out as that.
Yeah.
But there's something that happened in the background. I can't talk about that.
No, that's okay. I'm smiling because sometimes when you're an entrepreneur as well, and they say, you have to be prepared to pivot. Opportunities might come where you just never ever imagined them to appear from, and they take you down a little path. So you never know. But that brings me on to, quite aptly, what strategies have you employed to grow and scale the business?
I don't know if it's a strategy. It's just like a thought process, right? Which is, don't rush, right? Sometimes people are so quick to try to grow their business, expand it, and they end up just biting off more than they can chew. For us, we've had to be methodical more than anything else, right? It's a really good question. Strategically, our approach has just been to get the right partners on board. We've told some companies, no, we can't work with them because, number one, they're not ready to help our suppliers. And two, it's a bit of a tick box exercise for them. We can't work with an organization. We need businesses that are actually really committed to the outcomes of those people who experience marginalization. Again, strategically, as a business, I could have built Kaleida to be just for Black people, right? For my community. But my wife is white. My kids are mixed race. I've got sisters. I've got aunties. I know people who are in the LGBTQ community. Why would I want to exclude them from my platform? And so, a strategic approach I take was to make sure it was fully inclusive for
everyone. I've lost you a little bit there, Jason.
You hear now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lost you a tiny bit there, but you're back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I was saying that I could have made Kaleida the community, but I do have my wife is white. My kids are mixed race. I've got sisters, people who are in the LGBTQ community. Why would I exclude them from a platform that is designed to help everyone? That could be used to help everyone. So strategically, the fully inclusive approach has been the right strategic approach to take. And when I think about it, the conversations I have with the procurement organization, the teams, the departments, the chief procurement officers I speak to on a daily basis, what they say to us is their most critical asset that they value the most is their time. So imagine this. If a procurement professional has to spend 6 weeks trying to find diverse businesses across 6 different databases, right? And then when they get a list of companies back from each database, they say they get 3 companies in each database. One database says, one's a spreadsheet, one's a database, one's an email, one's in a post-it note. The buyer simply can't compare that information because it's all in different formats. So strategically, we want to normalize that data and be fully inclusive to give them access to the information in the same consistent space. As a result, the Kaleida platform allows these corporate buyers to find these organizations, like I say, identify them, assess them, and invite them to participate in tenders inside 10 seconds, as opposed to 6 weeks. So again, that was a strategic decision to be fully inclusive.
Yeah. Do you know what, when you were just explaining about those different databases and those experiences of having to pull that, so that is dear to my heart because I've been in the industry a long time. And we could probably talk offline about it actually, but what would be really cool is when a buyer has that selection, can they then extract that information and pull together a tender for the services, or is it all in the system and online?
Sorry. So a buyer. Go on, ask again.
Okay, so as a buyer,
yes,
I've gone in. I need 5 suppliers to run a tender for some services, and they meet. I select them from Kaleida. I've got the contact details. I've got everything for them. What happens then? Is it exported out of Kaleida for the buyer then to do the exercise, or
No,
does
no.
everything
I
happen in
got
the
you.
system?
I got you. So the buyer will put into the platform a tender, okay, or a one-off purchase opportunity, let's say for £100,000 for marketing services.
Mm-hmm.
That gets alerted. The supplier gets an alert to say that the buyer is interested in buying your services. Okay. When they do that, the supplier can then basically apply to participate in that tender. At that point, the buyer and supplier are now in conversation in the platform through our messaging tool that then eventually does go external of the platform. Our success, our measure of success is in our ability to create access to opportunities, right? But outside of that, we can't control who the buyer will buy from, and we have no influence on the actual purchasing process. So we give them the tools to take it outside of Kaleida, because these businesses, they all use platforms like Cooper, like Ariba, like Medius,
That's
right?
a good one.
Right. So we don't compete with those guys. We will help them find a supplier that they then import into that, or on board into that external system, and then they run that tender process that way. So we are not a tender management platform, right? We are a tender marketplace that connects the buyer to the supplier.
And that's really, really important to make clear for the audience as well. So that's really, really clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go. So tell us a story. Tell us a success story on your journey so far.
So and this is true, and hopefully the gentleman who's this is about, maybe he won't comment on it, but I got a call. So I used to work in financial services, and ironically, I stayed in touch with a man who also was in financial services as well. Eventually started his own business. I've had so many people reach out to me and say, Jason, can we get onto your platform for free? We're a small business, we need to try it out. And I've always given them access to the platform for free for as long as I can do. This chap got access to the platform, and he called me in tears one evening. It probably was about 8:30 in the evening. I was actually on the sofa with my wife watching, I don't know, it was something silly on TV. And I don't normally take calls like that late, but I answered the phone, and he was in tears because he'd won a tender in the platform. It was a public sector tender, but it was an opportunity nonetheless that he had found in the platform. And he said, Jason, I would never have known about this if you didn't push it in my direction. And as an entrepreneur, he was beginning to kind of not struggle, but it's a real journey of investing time and money and not getting the outcomes you want, not getting the sales, not really making the revenue. And this opportunity would change his business. So I think what's great for us is we do have some success stories where the businesses that have access to the opportunities can then keep the lights on and invest in R&D, because they now have revenue that can change their trajectory of their business.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And I think it's really important where you can create the platform which you have done, but it's just that message to the audience and people out there don't actually think, oh, it's not for me, or if I apply I might not get it. But if you don't apply, you don't get to have a chance.
You don't. I mean, you have to throw your hat in the ring, and I'm going to be harsh here. Sometimes diverse communities will talk themselves out of doing something because we then feel the chip on our own shoulder. Okay, I'm not going to go and talk to that person because they're probably going to be racist, or they're probably going to be homophobic, or they don't like me, they're going to be sexist. I mean, then we don't go into those rooms. And actual fact, you don't score any shots you don't take, or you only have a chance to score if you take the shot. And I encourage everyone who does feel the pressure of imposter syndrome to take a deep breath and just go for it, because we then become our worst enemies. If society is moving in a direction where it's trying to create access to opportunities, trying to give equity to those who need it, trying to give equality to those who have achieved or earned, I guess, deserve equality, if that society has gone through that journey and then we still don't take the shot, we can't blame anyone else apart from ourselves. And I sit here humbled by what the business has achieved, humbled knowing what the journey looks like and how painful it is, humbled knowing that Black-owned businesses are very unlikely to receive funding. I know how difficult the journey is, but we can't make it harder for ourselves and other diverse communities by not taking the shots when we're invited in the room. And our business focuses on getting people a seat at the table. And actually, can I show you one thing? Can you
Yeah.
stay there 1 second?
Yeah, we've got plenty of time.
All right. So I've got something, right? And I wrote this on, and I stuck it on my board in 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
It says,
read what it says.
Okay, it says Kaleida, financial freedom, mummy cruise, mummy retirement. Right? That's what it says. Yeah. This is everything that I'm going for. And just this morning, my mum arrived in Dubai.
Oh.
And I say it because the things that motivate us, and this is, we all have to have a North Star. So when you start your business, when you run your business, you need to have a reason why you're doing it. And yes, it is to help people. And it's okay to say you want to make money, but there are other people in our lives who we also want to help as well. And for me, coming from a single parent, my mum had nothing. We were raised with nothing. Holes in our shoes. My socks would be coming through the hole in the shoes, so my socks would be holy. Living on a council estate. We come from real poverty. Yeah. And I always wanted to be able to give mum back something when I could. And, you know, I was able to take her to Paris on her 40th birthday. Actually, I'm born on my mother's birthday, right? So she's 20 years older than me. On my 20th and her 40th, I took her to Paris. On her 50th, I sent her to Egypt. I wasn't able to do anything for her 60th because I had no money, right? I was down and out working on this new opportunity with Kaleida and building it out. I had no money. I said, Mum, I can't do anything. I said, but I'll get to the point where I can keep my promise. Yeah. And again, this was written as it says. I mean, this is no BS, right? And it's just important to kind of, I guess, to inspire, give some of your listeners a glimmer of hope that actually, if there is a reason or a purpose, a motivation, and they stay true to that, it doesn't matter the path that you take, right? The backward journey, sometimes the back steps and the left turns at the wrong place or making mistakes. If you still get to your goal and your outcome, that's really, really important for, I think, for your listeners to know that trying to save the world is one thing. It's great. It's great to be in the sustainability world and try to save the planet. Beautiful outcomes. It's also okay to want to make money, to want to retire, to want to achieve, to send your kids to private school, to be able to give and pay for your daughter's wedding or your son's wedding or buy them the first car. These motivations are important parts of life that we shouldn't shy away from. And we should be encouraged that if you know that you're working for a company and you're underpaid or underappreciated and you go out there to do your own thing, just keep that purpose as to what it is and why you're doing what you want to do. And that's what's been my motivation from the last couple of years as I've built Kaleida from the ground up from 2019.
Yeah, and as you carry on the journey, those things will change and evolve as your family and you meet those goals. You'll set new ones and go on to achieve those as well.
Yeah.
So, Jason, what advice would you give to other SMEs who are looking to expand or to innovate?
Advice, I guess, for the most part, surround yourself with the right people. It's okay to lose team members if those team members don't exhibit the same culture, like company culture that you're trying to build. You have to learn to lose early, okay? If you lose early, you're able to move on to the next one. The next opportunity is more quicker and achieve success quicker. So lose early, surround yourself with the right people, but most importantly, listen. Sometimes we got to stop talking. We have to just listen to what's being said by the market, by our staff, by our clients. Why did we lose a pitch? Have a conversation to understand why you lost an opportunity and see where you can grow. And don't take it personal. You know, business isn't personal. It's not a slight against you as an individual, how the outcome will be, whatever the outcome is. And so I think if we can step out of our feelings,
our egos.
It's ego. You're right. We can probably achieve more because sometimes our egos that sometimes hold us back. Look, I wrote an article when I launched my failed HR consultancy business. I wrote how I got through year one. I got 20 things on there that I think were information people don't really tell you when you get into business. The biggest advice I give anyone, right? I mean, check out that link if you want on the LinkedIn. On the articles that I've written, right? It's how I got through year one. But one of the most important ones I'll give to anyone when you go to bed, bring a notepad and pen with you to bed. Because what I found for me is I had 1,000 thoughts going through my mind every single time. What was my next post going to be about? What am I going to say to this client? How am I going to negotiate this deal? And sometimes when that you've got all these things in your head, you can't sleep. You're restless. And as you're closing your eyes, your body, your mind is still working. What I found is when you write those thoughts down, whether it be a solution to a problem, right? How many times, right, Maxine, have you been in bed and think, oh, I've got it now, right?
Yeah.
What happens is, unless you write it down, your subconscious doesn't know knows that the idea isn't safe, that the solution isn't safe, and so it can't rest. The moment you write it down on pen and paper, as in don't turn your phone on, it's the worst thing you could do. Write down on pen and paper, you'll be surprised how much calmer you become, because you know that the solution that you had is now on safely on ink and paper, right?
Yeah.
And you can't lose it. And I think you'll find that those entrepreneurs who can relate to that anxiety around going to bed and minds racing, when you write it down, they'll experience so much more calmer sleep because the idea or the solution is safe on that paper.
Yeah.
Finally, also get a mentor, right? Someone who you can speak with, who you don't mind being grounded by. Okay, that person should have achieved more than you. They should be more successful than you. They should know more than you. They should read more books than you. They should have a better network than you have. And you will find that you become that same person for those who are behind you coming up. Okay.
That's great advice.
So find a good mentor, not a paid one. Somebody who might, excuse me, who might offer that as a part of their, hey, I'd love to help you through this situation, because that's the only way you can grow. You can't grow, unfortunately, if someone is not on the same level as you in your development cycle. So find a mentor. You'll be surprised that you become that same mentor for someone else behind you.
That's some really, really great, inspiring advice. So, I mean, there's still quite a few things that we want to explore.
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Let's do it. It's fine.
Okay. So where do you see the business in the next 5 years?
We will be, so right now, we are perhaps the only B2B marketplace in the UK and Europe that's a fully inclusive B2B marketplace of tenders. I think we can be that. I think we will continue to be that way. We have, there will be competition eventually, but I think it's all about building the brand. And I think our brand is big. In a couple of years' time, we'll have our own awards ceremony. So we'll have events happening as well. That'll be the first one will be 2025. That's been planned now. We'll have a bigger team, but again, I've built the business to be scaled. Okay, and I think I didn't touch on it earlier when you asked the first question, but a lot of businesses they think it's sexy to go and raise money and give out equity and pay for solutions. Sometimes you learn the best lessons when you do it yourself, when you take your time and are patient. So I own the business 100%, and so maybe being able to take on an equity partner who can actually help drive the business forward might be a way we go forward as well. But for now, certainly we'll have events. We'll have over £1 trillion worth of opportunities in the platform on an annual basis. Right now, we're going to be around 550 billion, but we'll definitely get to $1 trillion, I think, in the next couple of years. And we'll probably have closer to 25, maybe 10 or 25,000 suppliers in the platform as well. And I say that number not loosely. I say that number because I know strategically something that is happening in the background that will probably get us closer to that number.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's exciting times for us as a business, building the right partnerships to allow these things that are in motion now to happen. And just being humble. I'm just being humble about it. That this is where we are.
Coming.
Yeah.
What's coming? That's great. So how do you stay updated with the latest trends and technologies in the industry?
Good question. But I've got a small network of really successful entrepreneurs. We're on a WhatsApp group and we talk amongst ourselves and we share insights. Again, find people who can add some light to your light. I tend to go to a number of events, but again, to be fair, if I'm honest, Maxine, I don't need the noise. I've gotten really efficient at casting out the noise and only worrying about what I need to focus on. So I try to hone in like a laser on what's important to the business and to supply diversity. Nothing else is relevant. I don't need the noise. Do I have a view on AI? Absolutely. AI for me is not the right place for supply diversity to be. So there's conversation around that. I stay on top of stuff on LinkedIn, but for the most part, I just really have dedicated myself and my profession and my expertise to being the absolute bollocks when it comes to supply diversity.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You are already the thought leader in this space, and long may it continue. And things like the spotlight, I'm just really blessed that I can give you that voice and platform here today.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, it's great to have the conversation. It's where it inspires some. Hopefully it does. And happy to have any questions. Hopefully there's some questions that might come in as well soon.
So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received as an entrepreneur?
I think I said it earlier. It's lose early, because ultimately what happens is sometimes we get so attached to a deal or to an opportunity or to a chance that when the buyer is not interested at all, we're still trying to breathe life into it, and that takes away our resource. We have a finite amount of resource, right? Capacity. So we have to dedicate that resource to the right spaces. By losing early, you can move on and spend time in a deal that actually will probably close. And so that's the way I probably operate as a business as well. It's to lose early as possible once you assess an opportunity, and then maybe it comes back to you in the future, but at least you can move on to the next opportunity and focus there. So lose early really is probably one of the key bits of advice I've been given in the past.
I was going to say, for the audience and listeners, if you have questions, you can actually post them, and then we can answer some things, or even message us after the show.
Yeah.
So, Jason, with this business with Kaleida and growing and scaling, how do you maintain your work-life balance?
Oh man, that's really tough. But what I've found is I like to play golf. Now, although a round of golf will take 4 hours, if I play 9 holes, it's 2 hours. But I start working at 6:30 in the morning, and I probably don't stop working until maybe 7:30. So I try to find time when I can go and play a round of golf, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I don't take lunch breaks. I'm always at the desk working at lunch. So I tend to find that golf for me is something that keeps me calm, takes me away, gets my mind at peace, and away from the toils of running the business. And it gives me time to actually just be me and be zen for a while.
Yeah.
So basically, to anyone who's listening, they've got to find that happy place, that space where they feel comfortable and can get away from the business. And for me, it's playing golf.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's absolutely amazing. Are you actually attending there's a golf event coming up, isn't there, with a carbon neutral zone?
That's right. It's on Thursday. Yeah. Unfortunately, is it Wednesday or Wednesday? I think it is. I can't make it, unfortunately. So Chris is one of the founders of Neutral Carbon Zone. I've been invited to play. I played with him last month at the last month event. I can't make this one. I've got 3 presentations to give, and then on the following day, I've got the FSB event that I host as well for the Federation of Small Business. So, and I've got, I think, a presentation in the morning, then the FSB, and one after. Unfortunately, I haven't got capacity this time to carve out and go, but it's a shame. I'd have loved to have been there. It's a really good event, a great network of professionals, really, really expertly organized and run. So it's a real shame I can't make it this week.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. Are you going yourself?
No, I don't play golf, but no, I can't make it. It.
But the work-life balance thing is tough. My kids are older now. My oldest is 19. She's now at university. My young one, the 12-year-old, she's now in that teen years where she just wants to go to her room when she comes home. So I'm kind of almost undisturbed in the workplace. But one of the things I always did was I made sure that, and this is probably more when I was working for a company, more so than when I was building Kaleida, the weekends were always for the family. I was religious about that. I had to find time for them and for us to do stuff together. And so I was really, that would be how we spend our weekends as a family, doing stuff together all the time.
Yeah.
Building the business probably will do a little bit different. I probably need a bit more time for myself, because you can't help. Look, when you're on an aircraft, they say if the plane is going to go down or the oxygen masks are deployed, put yours on first before you help anyone else. And that's where I think you got to look at life. Sometimes you can't help everyone until you're in the position to help yourself first of all. So, now that I'm building Kaleida's scaling, should we say, I try to find that time for me to be able to do the things I need to do for them.
Yeah, and I get that, because I mean our daughters are a year apart, so mine's 18,
Okay.
and so I was a single mom with her for over 10 years from the age of 5. So yeah, it's really important that your health.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy, they used to say, if you're not healthy, how can you then give 100%?
Yeah, but you know the funny thing is actually also to communicate effectively to them as well. Explain to them what I explain to my daughters what I'm doing, what the plan is, and what I'm building,
Mm,
and they support me. They buy into me, and so I think the communication part is been critical to getting that balance right and feeling comfortable with it. How many
mm,
times have you felt that parental guilt? Like I haven't spent time with the kids this weekend or this week, or I haven't done the homework, and we haven't had a proper conversation. That guilt is real as well. So I think
mm.
being honest in the conversation with them just helps them process any time you might be away from them. That's what I find.
Yeah. So there is a couple of questions that have come in from
Okay.
Jack Schnadal. Hi, Jack. Jason, you're a legend. It's been super inspiring listening to your story. Congratulations on building Kaleida to where it is today and achieving your goals.
Thank you,
Quick
Jack.
question. Quick
Yeah.
question. Does Kaleida have suppliers on the platform that work within construction? And it's
Good. Mhm.
specifically within retrofit, installers of insulation, solar panels, renewable heating, etc.
So right now I can say, Jack, first of all, thank you for the compliments. We'll continue to try to inspire as best as we can and help wherever we can. So I appreciate your observation there. Thank you. We have right now about 17,000 tenders live on the platform. I'm pretty certain some of those will be for the construction sector. The specific body of work you're talking about, I wouldn't know about check-in, but there are good filters within the platform for you to drill into it and find exactly what you're looking for, whether it be by name or by sector within the platform itself. Jack, if you'd like to see the platform, I'm happy to go through it with you and show you some construction opportunities that are in there that you might be able to reach out to and see if you can help grow your organization. So thanks for the question.
That's great. Thank you, Jack. So, how do you ensure you stay the go-to expert in this specialized area? So this is quite a critical question actually, because
Yeah,
at the moment, Kaleida's groundbreaking and trailblazing, and then sooner or later the competition and the market's gonna shift. So how are you
yeah.
going to ensure you stay the go-to expert in this area?
It doesn't matter. I don't want to be. The thing about supply diversity, and this is what I'm gonna say it's the right way. The trick that was missed in the years before is that the outcome of the diverse suppliers was never wasn't the main priority.
Mm,
That's why no one else comes together, because they're
mm,
all fighting for their own. Let's get the black people over here doing well. Let's get the women over here doing well. Come together, right? Until anyone else, and here's a challenge.
mm.
Until someone else or other groups pull together, Collider will always be at the forefront of supply diversity because we're fully inclusive. And if anyone wants to come and join us on that journey, then they should do. And I invite them to, because it is to ensure that those businesses, and remember what I said earlier,
Yeah,
the businesses, the corporates are the ones that can change the outcomes, not Collider, not any advocacy group, not any small business. It is the corporates with the money that they want to spend that changes the outcomes. So if anyone's got a system that can help these corporates spend more money with black-owned businesses, with women-owned businesses, then they should do that. They should be there,
yeah.
and we should all be doing this together. I love the story of when you walk down a supermarket aisle, a bread aisle.
Mm.
Okay, how many different brands of bread do you see?
Well, a lot. There's
Right,
all kinds and all
but
different.
what is bread? It's just flour and water, right?
Mm,
Never be afraid of competition. It's okay. The bread market survives, bottled water market survives, right? It's just competition. It will make you better, bolder, braver. You'll have better products, better solutions, and the suppliers, from a supply diversity perspective, are the ones that will benefit from this. So I don't care. It doesn't bother me. We'll do well as a business. There's enough pie out there for everyone.
that's true.
Absolutely.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say competition. That's a whole of a conversation, isn't it? And you need to just keep your eye on your North Star.
Yeah, my voice went funny just then. Look, it's what. So, what is competition? Competition is a challenge to you as a founder to do better. I accept it. I embrace it because you'll never defeat me. Not me personally. My business will always do well. My morale will always be high. My esteem will always grow. So, it's not a bad thing for people to be competitive because it just helps. But I think they say in the industry, it sharpens your pencil.
Yeah.
It keeps your pencil sharp, and I embrace it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a bit of healthy competition.
Exactly.
So, just a few more questions. Honestly, the time has just gone by, and such wisdom, such inspiration that you've been sharing. Are there any this is probably a bit controversial, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay, go ahead. No, that's good.
Are there any plans to diversify or expand beyond your current niche of supplier diversity?
To expand. Sorry. So are there other diverse groups
beyond supplier diversity? Is there any plans to expand beyond that? So would you consider doing something else or evolving and doing something else?
Me personally, I've got another business plan that I want to go ahead on. I can't say it here. It's too precious. But look, I think when you're an ideas person, I think you always have something in the back of your mind you want to work on. I will never ever retire officially. I need to be busy.
Yeah.
Even if I sold Kaleida tomorrow and made £100 million, I couldn't not work. I need to be out there helping someone or doing something productive. Otherwise, I'll just kind of shiver away, right? So, outside of supply diversity found me because of my experience.
Is that what you explained earlier with you?
Yeah, look, it found me because there's a couple of quick anecdotal stories. Okay, I went for a head of sales job one time, and the organization, I think the interview lasted about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40 minutes. I was interviewed by I think 5 people. Then the owner of the business came into the room, a very successful technology house in the city of London. The CEO and founder, I think they're co-chief CEOs. One of them came into the room and sat with me, and I want to say that he interviewed me for about 50 minutes. It wasn't a grilling, but I realized what it was in the end, right? It was an attempt to find a reason to say no to me.
Oh.
What can this guy do that I can just say that's the reason why I'm going to say no to him? Because actually he's really good, right? All the other colleagues said, yeah, good, he's good candidate. Yeah. Anyway, it turns out as I'm closing my bag, my notepad, okay, and we're just wrapping up. He says, "So Jason, where do you go to university?" I said, "I didn't go to university." "Oh, this is you have to have a degree to get this job." I said, "What?" He said, "I went to Cambridge." I said, "I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not bragging about it, kind of thing." And I'm like, "You're now not going to give me a job because I didn't go to university." What I realized is this: his customers, he would have, because of the industry they were in, his customers, I think, would have had a problem building a relationship with me because I'm a 6'5" black male. I felt that he made me an issue that his clients would have had, although we'd no idea what his clients may have had as an issue or not.
No, because
ultimately, when you feel, and then another quick anecdotal story, and I'll kind of circle them up. But I won't say which organization this was. I worked for an organization where I ran a team. Okay, and I'll say the number. I ran a team, and I was on a specific salary. Okay, very lowly paid based on the job that I was doing. I hired people in my team on double my income, double my salary. Okay, and sometimes maybe 2.5 times my salary. Whenever it came to the bonus and promotion cycle, which happened once a year, for 3 years, I never got it, despite hiring people, and therefore my salary was never corrected or adjusted.
Yeah.
So I worked for this organization, and I began to think: is this corporate racism? Is it just that no one would advocate for me strong enough because there was an unconscious bias? And again, I'm really careful about the language. Not everyone is racist, but some people don't like you because they don't know why they don't like you, right? I was in the pub about 8 months ago, and the conversation ensued when Sam Smith was talking about his identity. Okay. And a woman said, "Oh, why can't he just why is he throwing this non-binary thing down our throats?" And I said to her, I piped up, I said, "Listen, you're a woman. You've had to fight for equality for decades. So you must know what it's like to have to fight for something that you believe in, because because your gender have been through it. So whatever his decision is and how he wants to be identified, and it's his battle, it's his fight. You can't knock him for it, having gone through the same thing." I said, "Look, would you swap places with me today as a 6'5" black male? Would you swap places with me?" I was surprised, shocked by her answer. She said no. She said no, because all you do is stab and kill each other.
Oh no.
No, this is real. This is
the
reason why I share the story is because when we talk about supply diversity, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, there are these unconscious elements in society that sometimes hold people back. That is then compounded by the affinity bias I talked about earlier. Okay, and this is why that then leads to imposter syndrome. Oh, I no longer think I'm good enough to be in that room because of how they think of me. Now, it's really important that we understand this. The story I shared a story to really just talk about finding the strength to overcome some of the challenges that we all experience in society, right? Whatever our identity is, and to find a way to have that conversation that will hopefully change people's minds and their mindsets. Supply diversity really is about appealing to the hearts and minds of people who want to make a difference, and find those companies who want to make a difference. It's not just the right thing to do. There's an economical outcome for the businesses as well.
Yeah.
But when we encounter these situations, people who have these opinions of diversity, LGBTQ plus, women, veterans, disabled, etc., we have to confront it. And I've been at the forefront of those conversations, trying to help people to understand in a very soft approach. My approach is softer. I talk about unconscious bias, not racism, because I think you can have the conversation there, as opposed to racism. People put their walls up, and then the conversation stops. And I think what we're trying to do is really pioneer that space where people begin to understand unconscious bias, how it impacts their buy-in decisions, and how when they do buy from these organizations that are diverse, where that success trickles down through those communities as well.
Yeah. So what's one message or lesson that you'd like your listeners to take away from this conversation today?
Your competence is what defines you, not your identity. Be good at what you are, and then nothing else should really matter, right? Because once you're in the room, once you get over that imposter syndrome and you're in the room, your competence will stand on its own 2 feet, right? Are you good enough? If you weren't good enough, then at least you can see where you can grow. But get into that room with those buyers and actually compete, because if you're trying to grow a business, you can only grow through revenue accumulation. Okay, and to get that revenue, you need to be able to find these opportunities that you can then win, at least try to win. If your business is turning over £500,000 this year, but next year you can do £1 million because you won 2 tenders, that's a massive growth in your business and change for your business, and that will change the people who you employ, who you hire. Where those people's kids go to school. There's a massive reaction, or ripple, should I say, to your success. So if you choose to be an entrepreneur, know that it's a responsibility that you're taking on, not just to yourself and your family, but to your staff.
Thank you, Jason. Great words of wisdom there. We're nearly coming to a close, so I hope you don't have to rush off.
No, we're good. I blocked off half an hour outside, so don't worry.
That's good. Is there a book, podcast, or resource that's been particularly influential for you?
I'm terrible. I don't really do much reading. What I watch is probably every episode of Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, because for me, again, we have to know how we learn, right? I'm not a reader of stuff. I'm very practical. So based on if someone assesses themselves and how they learn best, they should do that. For
visual.
Yeah, I watch Shark Tank because ultimately what I'm listening for is all the objections as why someone doesn't invest. I think Shark Tank is better than Dragon's Den in terms of its delivery and how it's presented. I think, but also look at how some of the suppliers, the inventors, create solutions to problems. Because when you ask questions around, what's your go-to-market strategy? What's your price point? What's the cost per acquisition for a customer? All these things are true, and then what you might read in a book, but I get the practical version, the lesson of it. So I tend to be someone who would watch a series instead of actually reading a book. That being said, and there's a book by a chap called, I can't remember his name now, but it's called, the book is called The Art of Closing. And every business founder who was never in sales should read that book, because it gives you tips on how to actually close deals, how to approach deals. And I do a number of webinars on these things as well to help to pass that information on. How's the best way to approach a deal, to close a deal, or how to build your pipeline? So that's what I'd
the art of closing.
The art of closing. I'm gonna try and find it in the meantime.
And then just we can post out about that. So one of the final questions then, are there any upcoming events?
Sorry, Maxine.
Have you found it?
Brian Tracy, and the book is called The Art of Closing. So Brian Tracy, The Art of Closing the Sale. That's the book. I definitely recommend. It's old school sales techniques, but it really gives you the fundamentals that you need to approach a sales deal and things to look out for, like what is the anxiety close, etc. But the book goes into it in great detail. Yeah.
That's really useful for entrepreneurs, because sales is pivotal to growth. Okay, so Jason, how can our audience and how can our listeners connect with you and learn more about Kaleida?
Yeah, look, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, so please do connect there. That's probably the main platform that we use to connect to buyers and suppliers. If you're interested in using the platform, please contact me, reach out and mention that you met through Maxine's Spotlight series, and we'll try and give you some sort of like month free access to the platform to help you familiarize yourself with the tool itself. What we do know is we've got a number of clients who are coming on board the platform in the next couple of months as well. We're about to announce, I won't say the name just yet, because I don't think I'm allowed to say the name. We've got a brand new client that I signed the contract last week, and ultimately they're putting on about, over the course of the next 12 months, we should get close to maybe £200 million of opportunity in the platform from the private sector. So lots of opportunities for business to get direct access at the point when a buyer is looking to buy. And if you think about it, the hardest part of sales is calling someone at the point when they're trying to buy, right? Otherwise, you keep pummeling them with phone calls and you always miss it. Kaleida's purpose is actually to alert you at the point when the sale is going to go live, right? So you kind of get right straight away to it. So to register on the Kaleida platform. I'm sure the details will be provided by Maxine. Register there, and love to see you on the platform, post some content, find opportunities, and hopefully grow your business as well.
Yeah. What's your next Kaleida event that's coming up, or webinar that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I might be running one towards the end of October. It's going to be focused on us launching our official supply diversity blueprint. Now, there are a number of corporates out there who still don't know how to deliver a successful, succinct, efficient supply diversity program across the territories, across the EMEA and the UK. This blueprint is a long-form guide that talks about how to do it, the things to be concerned about, and the things to look at when building a supply diversity program. That may be towards the end of October. If they visit the website, there's an events page there. You'll see, you get an alert when there's a new event being published. So visit the website. Join the subscription list. That's where you get the information.
All right, Jason. I've been truly inspired today, and I really look forward to some of your other events, hearing about your partnerships, and if as a Spotlight series, if we can support in terms of spreading the word far and wide, just reach out, and we're happy to support this great initiative. It's a game changer. It is. It's changing lives.
It really is. It really is.
Just fascinating. In fact, I'm going to be meeting up with you soon as well. So I look forward to meeting you. Actually, it's next week.
It's next week. That's right. We'll get to meet face to face. You're invited to come and join one of our clients, the Coventry Building Society, who are running Supply Diversity Day. So those guys are excellent. They're just amazing at what they do. But look, build partnerships, build friendships, lose early, and make a list to manifest. Not manifest with actions, not just believe in it, but manifest through your actions the outcomes you really want. And just seek advice. If you don't know something, ask. Really good, really simple, old school scruples.
I'm going to leave you with the last word, Jason, and then we'll say goodbye to our listeners. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay.